Walibi Holland is the premier thrill park in the Netherlands. This park features a coaster collection jam-packed with thrills, and it's headlined by one of the strongest top threes of any park with Untamed, Lost Gravity, and Goliath. But the park is about more than just rides. It also has some downright bizarre theming, making it one of the most memorable parks out there. Find out everything you need to know about Walibi Holland in this review. This park originally opened back in 1971 as Flevohof. This was an educational theme park centered around farming and agriculture. By 1991, the park's owners went bankrupt due to declining attendance. The Walibi Group purchased Flevohof in early 1992. They reopened the park in 1992 with only small modifications, but it still struggled, so the park was kept closed for the entire 1993 season and transformed entirely. The park was rebranded as Walibi Flevo and received 14 new rides, including the world's first Vekoma SLC in El Condor. This began the park's transition into a thrill park. In 1998, all of the Walibi parks were acquired by Premier Parks. This chain also owned the Six Flags brand, so for the 2000 season, the park was transformed into Six Flags Holland. This was accompanied by 23 new rides, including 4 new roller coasters. This was one of the many Six Flags parks that spent like a drunken sailor at the turn of the millennium. Expansions like this ultimately pushed the chain towards bankruptcy, leading to Six Flags selling all their European parks. The former Walibi parks were purchased by Palamon Capital Partners in 2004. The DC and Looney Tunes branding was stripped away, and the Dutch park was renamed Walibi World. Then in 2006, Compagnie des Alpes or CDA purchased the Walibi parks. For their first decade of ownership, the only notable thing CDA did was renaming the park Walibi Holland. No new rides were added, but in recent years, the park has received an infusion of thrill coasters. The park got Lost Gravity in 2016, Untamed in 2019, and they're slated to get an RMC Raptor in 2024. This has made Walibi Holland one of the top coaster parks in all of Europe. The park's focus on thrills is apparent from the start. As you drive into the park, you pass the park's tallest coaster in Goliath. It is a wonderful greeting that gets you hyped up for your day. I've only visited this park by car. It's about an hour drive from Amsterdam. I believe you can reach the park by bus as well if you use public transit. I love this park's entrance. You have a giant yellow archway with the park's logo on it. It reminds me of the entrances you see at movie theme parks. Like Walibi Belgium, the park stepped up its theming in recent years. Once inside, it is clear you're going to get a distinctly unique theme park. Walibi Holland has some bizarre theming. It is not subtle in the least bit. It feels psychedelic and over the top. It feels like an acid trip between the color, big graphics, and graffiti. I have never seen this stylistic choice at any other park, but I think it works because Walibi goes all out. There's something to see in every direction. For example, you'll see a dead unicorn's body painted at a railroad crossing. Of the park's areas, 4 stand out most to me. Wilderness is my favorite area. It feels like an overgrown forest crossed with a dance festival. It's an absurd theme that shouldn't work, but I think it does. Speed Zone is themed to, you guessed it, high-speed rides, and it has a bit of a futuristic vibe to it. Exotic has an ancient Mexico and Mayan vibe with the architecture. It's a theme a lot of parks use, but it is done well. Then you have Zero Zone, which is a dystopian industrial area. I really like the concept of this section. And all this theming is paired with some natural beauty. This park has a lot of shade and greenery. That makes sense for the wilderness area in particular, but it applies to most of the park. Many of the park's coasters are hidden from view until you're right on top of them. Some like Express are darn near impossible to see from within the park due to all the tree coverage. While I really like how this park looks, I'm not a fan of the layout. It can be pretty confusing to navigate. There's a reason the layout had to be tweaked when this park was put in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, because the peeps would have gotten lost and cratered the park's rating. There are several rides that are physically close to each other, but the pathways servicing them are a long ways apart. The most egregious example of this is Goliath. It is located at a long dead end at the end of Speed Zone. I believe this area is where the Raptor will go, but it won't fix how annoying this path will be. El Condor is literally right next to Goliath, but you need to walk all the way back to the start of Speed Zone to actually get into the exotic area, and then you have to walk through that entire area just to get to the SLC. Another example of this is when you're back by Untamed. The Crazy River log flume isn't far away, it's just across a stream, but you will need to head back towards the front of the park to access the bridges that cross over into the area, so be prepared to do a lot of walking if you're going in between attractions. Lines can be an issue here. Most days, the main coasters will have 30 to 45 minute waits. Fortunately, there are two great ways to beat the crowds. The paid way is to use the fast lane skip the line pass. This is included on all the park's major rides. You reserve a time on your phone, and when it's called, you basically board immediately. You have a few options. You can buy single shots, those cost 5 to 8 euros per ride, or you can purchase an unlimited option that costs 50 to 60 euros. The free way to skip lines is to utilize the single rider lines. These are a lifesaver at Walibi Holland as long as you don't mind splitting up your group. They are featured on Space Shot and, more importantly, 5 of the park's 6 major coasters. Usually they aren't more than a 5 to 10 minute wait. The only major coaster missing a single rider line is Express Platform 13. I believe that's due to how the ride is set up. The end of the queue is essentially a long haunt with some bona fide jump scares. It honestly feels like an attraction in itself, so it would be a shame if you missed it. Express is the closest coaster to the main entrance. The queue is located inside this mall that leads to a central hub, so this ride gets slammed right at opening because everyone has to pass it. If you aren't one of the first people in line, it is prudent to return to this coaster in the second half of the day. There are 2 things I would recommend doing in the morning. 1. Knock out the 2 main water rides in Rio Grande and Crazy River. These lines can back up in the afternoon. 2. Use the standby line to experience Untamed and Goliath in the back row. These are the best seats in these coasters, and it's luck of the draw if you'll get them from the single rider line. I would recommend a full day here if possible, so you have plenty of time for re-rides on the big 3. And if you want to maximize a summer visit and get some night rides, try to visit on a Wednesday. The park closes by 8 p.m. most days, but they will stay open until 11 p.m. on many summer Wednesdays. And unlike some European parks, the queue lines are kept open right up until closing time. In general, this park has decent operations. The park is good at ensuring trains are fully loaded through the single rider lines. This does lead to many rides having assigned seating, but the staff members are happy to honor seating requests or let you wait for a specific row if you ask nicely. The staff here is super friendly. Dispatches aren't as fast as some European parks, particularly on Untamed and Goliath, but they're still fine. The park will run multiple trains on their coasters most days, but they do have a habit of running one train on rainy days. If heavy rain is in the forecast, prioritize Goliath early in the day because that ride can have issues. The rubber drive tires on the brake run can lose traction and slip with the train if they get too wet, which can cause the ride to shut down. Now let's move on to that ride lineup. I think this park is a contender for Europe's second best coaster lineup after Energylandia. Walibi Holland features 7 roller coasters, 6 of which are targeted towards thrill seekers. For a lineup as sizable as Walibi's, it's surprising how thin they are in the family coaster department. Fortunately, that will be fixed in 2023 with a Zamperla family coaster. And then the thrill seekers will get another gift with that aforementioned RMC Raptor in 2024. The park's current best coaster is easily Untamed. I think it's the best coaster in all of Europe. This is a Rocky Mountain Construction hybrid conversion of the former Robin Hood wood coaster. Untamed is relentless. The coaster has flawless pacing. You have 16 airtime moments, most of which are brief but very powerful ejector pops. But I also like how this coaster mixes in some sustained airtime moments you tend to only see in the larger scale RMCs. Then there are 5 inversions, all of which have fantastic hang time. The best is the initial inversion. That double inverting stall is one of the best elements in the world for hang time, and it is super disorienting too. I always hit the brake run amped up from the experience, and I have an entire review further explaining why this coaster is so special. Goliath is the park's intimate mega coaster. While it doesn't quite hit the 200-foot mark, it offers a comparable experience to the ride of steel coasters in America. This coaster starts and ends strong. The first drop does feel a little short, but it delivers great ejector airtime. The subsequent camelback offers incredible and sustained ejector airtime. Then the Stengel dive is nice and whippy. The middle section has nice placement over the water, but the S-hills and helixes don't quite match the power of the rest of the ride. But the finale returns to form of 3 bunny hills with good ejector airtime, particularly in the back row. Check out my review for more information. Lost Gravity is the prototype mock Big Dipper. It is a super compact coaster, but it's big on the thrills. The devilishly twisted drop offers some wonderful ejector airtime and wicked laterals together. Then there are several other hills that also launch you from your seat. Then the inversions juxtapose that with nice hang time. Along with all these great elements, you have some nice theming. I particularly love the blast of water that heads towards the train during the 0G roll. It wrecks with your sense of direction. The one downside with this coaster is the smoothness, or lack thereof. This ride is a very bad rattle that can cause a headache, which I noted in my review. If this were ever fixed, it would shoot up even higher in my rankings. Then the park is a trio of Vekomas. Express Platform 13 is a good one. It starts with that creepy queue line through an abandoned subway with some jump scares, and then you have a decent coaster. This is a near clone of Disney's Rock and Roller Coaster, just placed outdoors. The launch has solid yank to it, and the first two inversions have nice positive Gs. Unfortunately, the rest of the coaster does a lot of meandering, and this one doesn't have the visual effects of Disney's versions, but it does compensate with some head choppers, and the ride is smooth and mostly free of headbanging. The other two Vekomas are not the smoothest, but the trains were upgraded to eliminate headbanging. Speed of Sound is a very cool boomerang. The experience is made by the dance club atmosphere in the station and the tunnel enclosing that first lift. You have flashing lights and awesome audio. Then the vests prevent headbanging, which is much appreciated because that cobra roll is still jerky. But the three inversions have great force to them, particularly going backwards, and the drops offer a nice rush too. Then there is El Condor. I was intrigued to see if the vests would save this coaster in a similar fashion to Six Flags New England's SLC. They did not. While you don't hit your head, your back will take a beating. This coaster tracks so poorly that you will be rhythmically thrusted forwards and backwards against the hard seat back. It is very uncomfortable and jerky. And that's a shame because the inversions would otherwise be fun with how snappy they are. Draco is the only coaster suitable for young kids. This is a Zier medium Tivoli coaster that was relocated from France, and then it received 5 different names during its stint at Walibi Holland. It's smooth, and if you ride in the back, you'll get some pull in the larger drops due to that long train. Near this coaster is Walibi Playland, which is the best section for kids. It's a nice little area with a lot of shade and a colorful collection of junior rides. Walibi is a strong flat ride lineup. I like how the flats are evenly distributed across the park. You have plenty of spinning rides, with the most notable being Spinning Vibe. This is a rare Huss Magic, which is basically an inverted breakdance. It is a dizzying ride with some whip to it. Tomahawk is another one that excels at spinning. This looks and rides like a Huss Frisbee, but this pendulum ride is actually an SBF model. You have some forceful spinning throughout, with a pinch of weightlessness on a few swings. Blast is a Huss top spin. The slower rotation offers hang time, then the faster flips pile on the force. And this ride is also supposed to have fountains to enhance the on and off ride experience. Space Shaw is the park's tallest ride. This S&S drop tower stands 20 stories tall, so it offers a great view of the park, albeit a short one. The launch on this one is interesting. You have audio effects. You'd think they'd be rocket or space themed, but you just hear car engines revving. But it does mask the launch, so it catches you off guard. The launch is otherwise decent, and you get some floater airtime at the top. I do prefer towers that shoot you down. While I personally haven't paid extra to do it, I want to call out the park's weird Skydiver Sky Coaster. Unlike most installations where you swing close to the ground, this one oddly lifts you higher as the ride progresses, which likely enhances the view. Grand Rue is another ride perfect for visuals. This is a giant 15-story tall Ferris wheel from Vekoma, and it is one of the best ways to photograph some of the park's more elusive coasters. The final flat ride I've noticed the bumper cars, not because of their power or anything, but because of their name. The park named this ride Tequila Taxis. Naming a driving ride after alcohol would be a big no-no in America. It got a chuckle from me. Moving on to the water rides, Walibi is 3, one of which is a standout in Crazy River. This is an excellent mock log flume. You have a satisfying backwards drop in the dark, then the final plunge is gigantic. It's a double down, and that second hump offers some really nice airtime, especially for a flume. Rio Grande is a solid rapids ride. This Vekoma model has an isolated layout and a seemingly never-ending series of rapids. None of them are too big, so you won't get drenched, but the prevalence of them will keep you on your toes. If you want to get soaked, Splash Battle is your best bet. It is an all-out water gun war between riders and onlookers. The park currently only has one dark ride. It is a Vekoma madhouse named Merlin's Magic Castle. While I like most of what the park has done from an aesthetic standpoint, the graffiti on a castle looks downright hideous. The ride itself is enjoyable though. The inverting effect is very convincing, and there are some colorful effects all throughout the ride. I really wish this park would invest more in this area, especially considering their sister park in Belgium has not one, but two high-quality shooting dark rides. Something like that would be perfect here. The park used to have some other indoor offerings like a 3D cinema, and a weird VR experience named Neurogen. Most of this park's theming looks like something from a fever dream, but Neurogen was a fever dream. You went on this weird adventure where you were bullied, take drugs, and I think almost die. I've only visited this park in the summer, but I imagine this park can make some creepy haunts considering what Neurogen was like. The other attraction I want to call out is Magic Fountain by Speed of Sound. It's one of those attractions where a live actor is hiding and they'll talk to and interact with passing guests. Kids love this type of thing. Moving on to the food, the only good item I've gotten here was a potato twister snack. I haven't found any good meal items here. I've had some mediocre burgers and hot dogs. I had the same problem at Walibi Belgium, so maybe it's a theme with this chain. But as before, if any locals know of any good food options, definitely let me know down in the comments. Finally, I want to talk about merchandise. This is one of those rare parks that'll sell you used ride parts. Then there are some interesting shirts for sale. You have the ones you'd expect with coaster logos on them, but I've seen them sell shirts with the F-bomb on it. You would never see something like that in America. So do I recommend Walibi Holland? Absolutely. You have eclectic theming that anyone can appreciate, and a robust ride lineup. But I particularly recommend this park for thrill seekers. It is the best park in the Netherlands for coasters, and few parks in Europe are better in that department. I think you have the best overall coaster in Europe with Untamed, plus two other standout coasters with Goliath and Lost Gravity. I could spend all day jumping between those three rides. And it's a very reasonably priced park too, for what you receive. I've always bought my admission in advance online, and it has cost me between 30 and 35 euros. So those are my thoughts on Walibi Holland, the premier thrill park in the Netherlands. What are your thoughts on this park? Do you think this place is one of the best coaster lineups in Europe? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.